This is a Global Original Podcast. This week's recording is from spring 2019, when the Screaming Mimi, the Baby Tornado, Ancient Orange, Donito Mussolini was due over here and preparations were being made. But first, we were talking about kids and their addiction to mobile phones. And this kid called to put me straight. Temple Fortune, hello Alice.
Hi. I overheard your previous call when you're speaking to a man who said that she had no technology.
Yeah.
And you mentioned how if that was spoken about and if that was spoken to youngsters, then they'd be rather surprised. I'm just going to tell you that me amongst all my friends, we don't have smartphones. We all have no internet. We have internet but restricted. We have no Twitter, no Facebook, no Instagram, all these little things, and no social media whatsoever. We all have phones, like your previous caller mentioned, which are just phones.
Well, how do you upload pictures of your face to the internet?
You don't.
Well, right. I'm confused. I thought that was the primary purpose of being alive these days, is to upload pictures of your face to the internet.
I think that's rather tragic. I think you should be living for yourself and not for the rest of the world.
Yeah. Well, what about uploading pictures of your dinner? How do you do that?
I'm saying I don't upload to the World Wide Web, but if I want to send pictures around to my friends or family, then I can email it or I can show them face to face when I go out with them. I find technology is connectivity without actually connecting.
Wow, you've just blown my mind, Alice.
Yeah.
So you talk to people face to face?
Crazy, no?
Well,
yeah, I actually.
Yeah, that sounds, and presumably your parents are insisting on this, yes?
No, my parents, no, not at all. My parents both have smartphones. And my parents have more access. They have open access to internet, but again, they also don't have social media.
So this is something that you've inflicted upon yourself.
Yeah, and not inflicted. I've chosen. It's way more. It's free. It's more.
Well, this sounds like cruel and unusual punishment that you are inflicting upon yourself. I'm calling the police.
It's not cruel or unusual. It's living. This is a way better life because instead of actually having followers or friends, so to speak, online, then your friends. I actually have my friends and we have great times together and I actually live with them rather than just texting them. I'm not addicted to technology. I don't feel like I'm missing out. I feel like I'm living a better life.
But Alice, how do you know how popular you are if you don't have a Twitter account?
Because I have friends that are actually real. I don't need to be popular throughout the world just because of how well I dress or how well I do my makeup or because of how great my vacation looks. I think I don't like social media because I think it's a fraud. It's everyone projecting the best part of their lives. And I think that's why there's so much self-harm and so much suicide nowadays, is because everyone thinks their life is awful because they're just seeing the green grass of everyone else's, not seeing a true life of other people's lives. They're not showing their hardships. They're showing the best parts of their marriage or the best parts of their friendship or the best parts of all these things, when really you don't know about that fight that happened last night. You don't know about their money struggles happening at the moment.
But if you go on holiday, how do you know that you've been there if you haven't taken a video on your phone of it?
Maybe because I'm alive, so I can see that I've been there. But no, I'm saying I have a big camera, and so I take photos and videos and stuff on that. And if I want, I can save them. I use my parents' phone if I want to send something to my friends. But I don't. Obviously want pictures to relive the memories, but not proof of being there. I think being there is the biggest proof of being there.
But if you take a picture with your phone, how do you know that you have enjoyed yourself if nobody else likes it?
Because that's so dumb. Maybe because I can feel the enjoyment I'm enjoying. Maybe because I'm having a good time. Maybe because I'm feeling satisfied. I'm feeling relaxed. And I think it's so sad that you don't know if you've had a good time unless other people have told you you've had a good time. I think that's pretty problematic. I don't think you've had a good time then. I think they're controlling your emotions and your feelings to tell. But don't you feel like you've had a good time when someone else tells you you've had a good time? It's not having a good time. That's being controlled.
Right. Well, I'm sorry, but you're not making any sense, Alice.
Why not? Tell me why not.
Nothing that you've said so far makes any sense. It's like I'm talking to an alien being here. You haven't been abducted, have you?
There we go. Maybe I'm one of the aliens we're talking about.
Right.
No.
All right. Okay. Well, listen. Thanks a lot, Alice, and you've shown us the light. Put it up on Twitter, and I'll read about it later. Here's a call in Carnforth. Hey up, Annie.
Hey up, Nick. How you doing?
I'm great, mate.
Good. I'm just ringing up about turmeric. Yeah, it does work, but and I take it myself, and it is effective for what I take it for as an anti-inflammatory, but it has got a lot of properties. But the capsules and the stuff you buy in the health food shops definitely don't work. I was listening to a doctor who's doing research into it, talking, and he was saying that the research they'd done, they found the capsules and the stuff you buy in the health food shops don't work because the processing interferes with some of the active ingredients. So he was recommending that you take a teaspoon of good quality powder. You know, I get organic stuff, and you can get them from like herbalist suppliers and that sort of thing. You know, yeah. I mean, preferably not off the supermarket shelf.
Yeah.
Kind of
so you
stuff.
Snort a couple of lines of turmeric.
I do. Well, actually, he was saying as well, if you take it with black pepper, it increases the effects by 20 times. So I take it with a little bit of black pepper.
So how much do you take?
I take a teaspoon of turmeric and about a quarter of a teaspoon of black pepper a day.
Right. And how do you take that?
I just stick it in my mouth and then eat a big mouthful of food.
Well, that's a little bit
afterwards.
too much information there.
Yes, but you know what I mean? I eat food afterwards. I mean, I have heard of somebody who said she drank it as tea, an Indian lady, that, you know, they put a spoon in a cup of water and just pour boiling water on it. But
I don't even know what it tastes like. What does it taste like? Dirt.
Well, yes, it's not great really, but I you know, you have to have a nice mouthful of food to go in, something probably that you can sort of slosh it down with.
And so what's it good for, though?
Well, it's an anti-inflammatory. That's what I take it for, and it's a very powerful antioxidant. And there is evidence as well now that it has. They do think it has some anti-tumour effects, and there's lots and lots of research being done into it because of this, and they're finding all sorts of things that it's good for. So, yes, for me, it works as an anti-inflammatory, definitely.
Right.
But it didn't when I used to take the capsules, because I thought, oh, it's just a load of rubbish, you know, it's not making any difference at all. And then I heard the doctor on the radio, because I'd stopped taking the capsules because it didn't really make any difference. Yeah. And I started taking it just a teaspoon a day of organic turmeric with a bit of black pepper, and yeah, it's definitely making a difference. So I can recommend it.
Okay. Well, just for balance, what may work for one person might not necessarily work for others, but if that's your experience, then that's worth knowing.
It is worth knowing, yeah. And also something worth knowing, when talking about people being stoned, our two new cats, one of them ate a huge amount of spider plant, ended up in the vets, and they're not toxic to cats as in poisonous, like some things are definitely poisonous to them, but they're mildly hallucinogenic, and she was stoned for about 6 days.
Good grief.
She'd eaten so much of it that it was all...
What does a stoned cat look like?
Much like a stoned human, actually. She was just like lying there in a heap.
Well, how could you tell the difference? That's what cats always do.
Oh, this one doesn't. She's completely mad. She wasn't being herself. She's usually racing round and, you know, just racing over furniture and shearing up curtains.
Yeah, she was going over to your records and pulling out some Pink Floyd music.
Well, not quite, but yes, she's just pretty crazy. Yes, she has chewed through. Well, I think it's her anyway. One of the wires to our speaker, and now we've only got one speaker that works.
Or maybe it was objecting to the music that you were playing. What were you playing?
Oh God, I can't remember what the last thing I played. It might have been Van Morrison, and my partner.
Oh, well, that's all right. How could it not like Van Morrison?
Exactly. Nobody should not like Van Morrison. But yeah, so she was really out of her head. So I would, if anybody who's got cats, I'd just watch them, because this one is particularly silly actually, and does just eat everything goes in her mouth. She's like a baby. But yeah, she got it stuck in her guts, and so that's why she had to go into the vet. She was in there for 24 hours. They had to give her a load of stuff to make it come out the other end. But then she was just really out of her head for about 6 days, and I was worried about her. I thought, oh God, she's just ill. This has done something to her. But then after 6 days, she was just like fine again. So I think she was having withdrawal symptoms or something. What does cold turkey. Because we threw it out. We've had to throw it out. It was half destroyed anyway, but we've thrown it out now.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe Van Morrison isn't Cat Mute. Maybe it was more after Cat Stevens. You should have been playing some Cat Stevens or Pussycat Dolls.
Yes, or even bird tweeting music. I think
or how about the Simon and Garfunkel song, Feline Groovy? Something like that.
I don't think I could stand that, actually. I'm not
a Simon and Garfunkel fan. No.
I was when I was young, actually. I did like the
when you didn't know anything.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I liked sort of the folky stuff, like they did one Scarborough Fair, and there was an EP with that on and bits.
I like the Boxer is good. Celia, that's all right, but I can only take so much of Simon and Garfunkel.
No, I can't. And actually, it was one of the very first albums I ever bought was Bridge Over Troubled Water, but I was about 13 at the time.
And you bought it because everybody said that it's the greatest album that's ever been released, and I bet you bought Carole King, Tapestry as well.
Oh, I did, but I really like Carole King, and I still like that.
Yeah, of course.
And James Taylor was one. I think the first one I might have bought might have been James Taylor, Fire and Rain. I can't quite remember now. I keep thinking, which was it?
Well, James Taylor gets a positive mark from me. Yes, I saw James Taylor in concert, this is like a decade or more ago, more actually, at the Barbican. And I don't know, there's some sort of musical trick that he plays. I don't know anything about music, but I know what I like. And there's some musical trick that he plays with notes. I cried 5 times to 5 different songs during the course of that. And not just a little tear in my eye, I mean my shirt was soaking wet. He just wrenches the emotion out of you with whatever trick he does. I don't know what it is, but it's evil, and I love it.
Live, actually,
because I tried not to make it appear as though I was crying because everybody else was concentrating on the stage, so I wasn't like wiping my face, but I was. The whole of the front of me was wet, like I'd had an accident.
Grief! That's a strange effect.
Well, there's something very emotionally wrought about his music. I don't know. There's some trick he does with notes. I don't know what it is, but it's the devil's work.
He's got a great voice as well. And have you ever heard his son? He's got a son who I heard on the radio a couple of times, and he sounds exactly like him. It's so uncanny. It could be James Taylor singing.
Well, if ever he comes on the radio, I shall reach for a box of tissues. All right, thanks a lot, Annie. Cheers, my dear. Ta-da. 0345 6060 973. A stoned cat. Huh. This says, I can't wait to see Trump's uniform. He's designed it for himself, all decked out with medals and ribbons to commemorate campaigns and battles that he's never taken a part in. Well, that's because he had a doctor's note, because he had a sore heel. But boy, does he love to surround himself with military people. Makes him feel like a tough guy. This says, the royal family have a lot in common with Donald Trump. Well, now get ready, because the next bit's offensive. A lot of you royalists are going to be very, very upset about this. I hate to break the news to you, but I'm about to say something that you're not going to like. So stick your fingers in your ears and just hum to yourselves for the next 10 seconds or so. And then after that, everything will be okay. It says, the royal family have a lot in common with Donald Trump. Apart from being useless, that was the offensive part. Apart from being useless, they also love walls. They have a huge one around their castles and their palaces to keep out the peasants, says Mick. Yeah, they keep out the peasants. They keep the peasants out and the pheasants in. There you are. It was it was a long way round, but it was worth it in the end, wasn't it?
No.
No, that's right. And I apologise. Now, the Screaming Mimi is on the way. Donald Trump is going to have lunch with the Queen, like that poor woman hasn't suffered enough. And he's going to enjoy a lavish state banquet at Buckingham Palace on the first day of his visit. Oh, I can only dream of having a lavish banquet. As well as Her Majesty, 2 future kings and a host of senior royals are going to be out in force because, what else have they got to do? Play polo, get free tickets to the cricket. Oh, it's just a packed schedule over there, ain't it? Senior royals are going to be out in force to meet the US president, but he can also expect to see protesters and maybe the re-emergence of the baby blimp. And 10,000 police on the streets around the country during his visit. That's how popular he is. Police are going to have to come out in great numbers in order to push well-wishers back. And you know what? I can't wait to hear from the right-wingers who whined about the pink boat people costing us millions in police time, who will also be complaining about all of this folderol. I bet there's not a peep. Despite the fact that Trump thinks that fine dining is to eat something off a plate and not out of a bucket. And getting on his good side for the afternoon is somewhat less important than saving humankind from the catastrophe of climate change, which is what the pink boat people were all about. And people whined and whined and whined about it.
I'm a whiner and I keep whining and whining.
And getting on his good side, somewhat less important, I'd say, than saving humankind from the catastrophe of climate change. But maybe that's just me. I mean, Donald Trump's a malignant narcissist. If you praise him 1 minute, it's not like it sticks. He'll change his mind about you the moment you stop telling him how tremendous and huge and great he is. You can't trust him. At least when he changes his mind about you on a whim in this country, you don't get marched out and shot like you do in North Korea. A ceremonial welcome in the gardens of Buckingham Palace and a grand white-tie state banquet in the ballroom all await the American leader. Staff will have spent 3 days laying the table for the banquet on Monday, if you can believe that. 3 days laying the table. I could do it in about 5 minutes flat. Oh, it's going to be so precise. Napkins will be folded like Dutch bonnets. Is that classy? Because that seems a bit naff to me. Folding napkins into shapes. I mean, why not swan shapes while you're at it? They're going to fold napkins into the shape of a Dutch bonnet. People will have 6 glasses set out per guest. I can't wait to see him negotiate that. Will there be cameras?
No.
Oh, damn it. 6 glasses and a special cushion is placed underneath Prince Charles' bottom. This banquet has apparently taken 6 months to plan. 6 months for one meal. Is going to see 170 guests sit down in Buckingham Palace's ballroom on Monday evening. The dress code is tiaras and white tie, or national dress. So Donny could probably get away with his hefty boy elasticated golfing slacks. And the guests will eat from a priceless dinner set. Donny will get his in a styrofoam box to make him feel at home.
Oh, shut up!
Their plates will be placed exactly 18 inches apart, precisely measured by staff. And glasses and chairs will all be the same distance away from the edge of the table. Each guest will have 6 glasses, 1 for water, a champagne toast, red and white wines, dessert wine and port. Well, Donny don't drink. Surrounding the table, 19 stations, each manned by 4 members of staff, a page, a footman, an under-butler, and a wine butler. What's an under-butler? There's the butler and the under-butler. What's an under-butler? And get this, despite the palace having 25,000 bottles of wine in their cellar. 25,000 bottles! What? Good grief. Despite that, they ain't going to be using any of their wine. The government is going to be paying for all of the alcohol served to the 170 guests during the banquet. The government will be paying. So, in other words, we're picking up the bill. The government. Apparently the House of Windsor actually released that information. Unbidded, perhaps. Well, we're not paying for it. maybe there was the suggestion that they were. Now, it'll be a bottle of Tizer for Donny, and everybody else gets water. And I wonder who will mention any of this when the details of that huge and tremendous trade deal come back and we find that we're being screwed because that's how Donny likes to do business. He's a con artist, so he thinks that everyone is trying to con him like he is them. That's his entire history of being in business. If the other side doesn't lose, he thinks that he's the one that's being screwed. And I'm not making that up. That's in the Art of the Deal book that he didn't write. There'll be speeches. Speeches take place at the start, at 8 o'clock, before everybody gets drunk, when the Queen and Donald Trump will both make a speech. The Queen's will be a short one about their special relationship, and Donna's will last 90 minutes and be about how he beat Hillary Clinton and how many people turned up at his inauguration. Biggest crowd. Nobody saw such a huge crowd, believe me. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of activists are preparing mass demonstrations during the state visit next week. More than 20,000 police officers are going to be deployed at 20 separate events planned across the country in a security operation expected to cost £18 million. The main protest is going to be held in London on Tuesday, with organisers claiming 250,000 will march from Trafalgar Square to Parliament Square. How do they know that? 250,000? They're just making it up. That sounds very much like fake news to me. 250,000. They're just plucking numbers out of the air. How do you know how many people are going to show up 3 days before it happens? It might rain. If it rains, Donny ain't coming out. He ain't going to get that hair wet. I wonder what it looks like damp. There's two groups who are going to be protesting. Stand Up to Trump and Stop Trump. That's priceless. One's called Stand Up to Trump and one's called Stop Trump. Is there any difference between the two?
No.
I mean, could they not just get together? How about uniting to become one group? I mean, what do the Stand Up to Trump people believe in that the Stop Trump people don't? Where's the bone of contention there? I mean, if they got together, just imagine the size of the blimp they could afford. They seem to be in competition with each other to show that they hate Donny more. No, we think he's more deplorable. You'd think that they would get together. Someone get John Cleese on the phone and he can do the Judean People's Front versus the People's Front of Judea routine. Engage signal? Oh, he's probably taking it off the hook. Too many woke people calling him up to tell him he's not funny anymore. A spokesman for Stand Up to Trump said, we will be bringing central London to a standstill. By the time he leaves, he will know and the world will know that the people here reject him and his toxic politics. You know, I don't recall them being out in the streets when the King of Saudi Arabia showed up. And they rolled the red carpet out for him. But, you know, I guess he's not famous. You wouldn't, if he wasn't wearing his garb, you wouldn't be able to pick him out of a lineup, right? Whereas nobody misses Donny. A spokesman for Stand Up to Trump said, we're going to be bringing central London to a standstill. Well, that seems a bit presumptuous. You don't know that. And every right-wing commentator, tweeter, pundit, politician and nutjob is going to be saying how disgraceful this is. Totally missing the point that it's our democratic right as free citizens to protest, even if it is kind of ridiculous. I mean, that's usually the sort of thing that they say that we fought the war for. Our freedom is what they say we're supposed to be taking back control for. It is the essence of a free country in action. That is, the ability to protest. But it seems like certain individuals don't like freedom if freedom is waving a banner that they disagree with. If that's the case, then freedom can take a hike. And these leftists should all be locked up. I'm writing the columns for the various pundits in the Mail before they, you'll be looking at a blank screen. Just write that.
And that's it. If you subscribe to this podcast, you'll find the next episode gets squirted up your life as though by magic on Mondays. And don't forget the whole show, which is, as it sounds, the whole show that I do on the radio with all the ads and the news stripped out, which makes it quicker to listen to, and by that method, you can save the planet. And there's the one that I do with Carol McGiffin, the delightful and often wrong Carol McGiffin, and I try to solve people's problems while laughing our faces off. And if you would like us to solve your problem, simply send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com. That's nickandcarol@global.com. And you can find that where you found this. Just ask for it by name. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? And prepare to be completely satisfied. And I'll be back on the radio Friday, Saturday and Sunday night at 10. And until then, I'll be seeing you.
Bye-bye.